Welcome to That's So Rad podcast. I'm your host, Travis Vonksness. This is a podcast about people, their passions, their life experiences, and their stories. As writer Frederick Buechner once said, the story of any one of us is in some measure the story of us all. All of us can learn something valuable from someone else's life and their stories. Join us for another conversation where we learn, laugh, and leave, seeing our own life in new ways. What's more rad than that? Hey, welcome to another episode of That's So Rad podcast. I'm your host, Travis, joined by my good friend, Jeff. And we are going to do a part two to the previous conversation on Xennials and the evolution of technology, how that shaped us as kids and teenagers and all that stuff. Yep.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Thought of, if this is part two, part one, I was your first returning guest.
Yes.
Does this make me your first three turning guest?
Is
this,
yeah.
Or does this is this part of that episode that I'm still only the first returning guest?
I was thinking, how does a part two count as like a? I think it's I think it's three.
Okay,
It has to be. So three. Okay, the first three-peat guest. Good. Yeah, catch on that one. Where were we going? So in the previous episode, we did talk about returning to this conversation. I think we had a lot of energy and just, the nostalgia around this is really, we need to stay here. We can't come back weeks and weeks later and return. Like, we still have to camp here. So we're going to camp one more time. And then the other part of it too was, this is crazy. We'll talk more about this in just a minute, but we posted a reel of describing what a Xennial is, the microgeneration, and it caught wildfire, it's almost at 2 million views as of right now, just a week after posting it. And then I think there's been like over 2,000 comments. Like it got crazy. So that also was like, okay, well, it's obviously putting more eyes as well in the podcast. And I was like, let's come back to this and kind of continue the conversation and also talk a little bit more about the 90s and that experience. So we're going to do all of that. So, but before that, Jeff is a master road tripping dad, and you returned from a road trip that we talked about last time. So where'd you go?
We went to Chicago, which is like just a few hours. Like, you get there about 4 or 5 hours. I go from St. Louis, so sometimes I don't know if you guys are ever this way, but we just know, like, we got to get out of town.
Yep.
We got to get a while, go do something, have an adventure. So we just headed up there. There were a few things drawing us in. So
did you spend the night, or was it a day trip and then turning around?
I personally have done the drive up, see an exhibit at a museum, come home. But with kids, that's definitely staying nights. They're a Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So we went to the Shedd Aquarium.
Oh, cool.
And right now the Field Museum has an exhibit that is, it's talking about archaeology, but it uses Pokemon skeletons as kind of like the draw-in for kids. So we went to see that, and Sue, the world's largest and most well-preserved T-Rex skeleton was there. And,
really? Okay.
Yeah. So we did that, and I don't know. We hit up on the way home this place called Galloping Ghost Arcade, which is $25 to get in, and it's free play all day.
Wow.
It's speaking of 90s, standing arcade machine. So I'm going to run through the list, but I got to beat, with my kids, we beat the X-Men arcade game, which was like a huge part of my 90s.
Okay, yep.
My son and I beat Altered Beast. I don't know if you know that one, Travis. I don't know if you're much of a video game guy, but you're these barbarian dudes,
okay.
And you get power. Eventually, you turn into a werewolf or a werebear or a weredragon, and you're fighting zombies. So it's perfect for me and my son. And then we also beat Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which is a weird game. You Bubble comes in, and if you touch him, you turn into a robot. It is insane. Fight moves is to moonwalk. It's a crazy
fight
game.
moves is to moonwalk. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
that's
I got
suddenly relevant with the movie that came out too. So
yeah, absolutely. So I got to beat those games with my kids.
that sounds like a. And then you deep dish pizza at some point,
Yeah,
Chicago. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's
yep.
you have to.
Gino's East. That's my
Oh,
recommendation.
okay,
If you're in East, I think that's the best pizza.
good to know. People can debate that one. All right, so let's talk about before we get further into this conversation back to Xennials. So road trips, random road trip. What is the
Mm-hmm.
most random, either destination or roadside attraction you have encountered in life? Or
I am a fan of roadside, like
mm-hmm.
driving and being like seeing a billboard for something crazy and just stopping to see it.
Yep.
So um, I have a lot that come to mind, but I'll talk. The first one I'm going to mention is my family and then my sister and her daughter all got in our van and we headed down 44 West, which is like part of the old Route 66.
Okay.
There's still kind of like roadside attraction stuff along there, and the idea was just a day of adventure. We're going to drive,
Yep.
see what we can see a sign for something. We're going to pull over and do it. And we made it to Uranus Fudge Factory. Are you familiar with this place?
No,
No.
I'm not.
Okay. Next time you're in the area,
Enlighten us.
yeah. So it is called the Uranus Fudge Factory, and while you were there, yes, indeed, there are all the innuendos
Yep.
and jokes you can think of. In fact, the billboards for the place say Missouri's #2 roadside attraction.
I love it.
So yeah, the whole time you're there, there's just like goofy stuff. They have a whole like soundtrack that's playing the whole time with songs. Yeah, but it was really fun. It's like there's a gift shop, and they have fudge in there, and they have some other really like just fun roadside attraction gift shop thing.
Yep.
But the real attraction for me was the Circus Sideshow Museum.
Wow.
So next door to the gift shop is a museum like pickled pigs and kind of like a little small tribute to Robert Wadlow, who's the
Yep.
world's tallest man, also known as the Alton Giant. Just a museum dedicated to the old circus sideshows. And it was
Wow.
weird and wild.
Weird, wild, and creepy, as it
Yes.
should be.
Yeah, definitely recommend.
Wow, that's a good gauntlet throwdown. Those two. So,
Yeah. And just one with that trip, not to stray too far from that trip,
Yep.
and then I want to hear yours. We also saw the world's second biggest rocking chair.
okay, that's. I mean, were you impressed? Did it feel like it was what a second biggest should be, or?
So I have seen the world's biggest.
Okay.
Nice to see the world's second biggest.
Yeah.
If the third biggest exists, let me know. I'd like to go.
You
see
need.
it.
I mean, yeah.
So it was. Yeah. I mean, I think it's everything I expect from seeing the world's second biggest anything. Pretty much to pull up into this like parking lot with this like little small store that's closed, wasn't open, stray cats wandering around, and you get out and you go, oh, there it is, and then
Well, and it's like, who's the official designation of this? Is this like a moving target? Now, well, we were 3, and now we're, it's like,
yeah,
a fire took out #2. I mean, what? I don't. Okay, well that's a great example of kind of where I was going on what I was going to say of. So one thing, and I haven't stopped at this, but I've been along to see, and off the side was the National, I think it was a quilting museum.
oh,
And I wanted to stop, just like, who goes to this? Like, is this like
yeah,
are the Amish, is this like a mecca for them? The men, like, who's going to this, and what is it like? Like, is this just, so some of it's like, you're kind of just curious of like,
uh-huh.
Kind of like with a rock, like what is,
I think like I would also, I'm not like a quilter, or I'm not like a what kinds of quilts called, like quiltonites. Like I don't.
do you like a good quilt on winter night? I mean,
I don't think I own a quilt. So like, but I would definitely go to the quilt museum. Like that would be fascinating
I think
Yeah.
you have to. And so, but also like I come from a hometown. This is kind of going back to the rocking chair, kind of the quilting museum thing too. Although this is even more, I laugh at this one. So where I grew up in Rugby, North Dakota, they call it the geographical center of North America. There's a pile of rocks in like sort of a, pyramid type thing, roadside. You get your picture with it. And I'd always laugh growing up, like, what does that even mean? I mean, the geography of like
Of North America.
of North America, like.
So I guess, yeah, right. If you take the shape of North America and you figure out geographically what is the center,
Right. And I think
there.
it's, yeah. And then I think the real location is like actually not right there, but they have the copyrights or the rights to it. And then that can lapse. Like that's actually a designation that if you don't turn the paperwork, like you can lose it for a year or something, which is what happened. But I find that interesting where you're like, wow, this is the geographical center of North. I mean, I guess it means something if you're into.
Yeah. Well, it's like the four corners,
Yeah.
right? Like the four corners, but that's not actually the four corners. It's just where
Right.
that's the four corners to be.
That's
but
right. I mean,
I now that's on my list now, Trav. Like,
I mean, add it. You have to get
Yeah.
up there. I mean, but the two I was going to say, Kazoo Museum, Kazoo Factory here in South Carolina, Kazoo, yep. And then the Spam Museum in Minnesota. So those are my two.
What is in the Spam Museum?
Well, so there's like tons of varieties of spam, like Cajun spam. I mean, there's all these different types of spam. We don't know. And spam is huge in Hawaii. Who would have thought that? Spam won World War II. You hear that. I mean, it's just, so there's a lot of the historical, like all these random things about it. There's the gear, then there's the scratch and sniff spam stickers and I mean, I don't know how. I don't remember how.
Dang, man, those sound awesome. I think those are like fantastic.
Yeah.
Things to see and do. They stick with you. Like, you don't forget those. If you're ever in Cincinnati, around there somewhere, there is a museum to neon signs.
Oh, really?
So they have a bunch of. It's really cool to walk around in because they have a bunch of like old. Like neon signs for restaurants or stores or whatever. They have this like huge one that like revolves and it's like just in the center of the museum. It's really neat. It's really
That's
cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be just a cool theme road trip of just like, hey, let's take a week. And our goal is to just, hit random pieces of Americana that are just crazy.
Yeah. And I think that the Midwest is a great place for that because there's just a ton of people preserving, like,
that's true,
like quilting or
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think it's a very Midwestern feature. Yes.
My final thought on this is if you do want to see the world's biggest rocking chair,
okay,
head to Caseyville, Illinois, or is it just Casey, Illinois? They have the world's largest everything. World's largest mailbox, which you can actually like climb up into. It's maybe like 3 stories tall, and there is a mailbox that does like you can put mail in the world. Yes, they have the world's largest knitting needles, the world's largest shoe, world's largest seesaw. Like they have the world's largest everything there. So
that's crazy. I did not. Okay, is that near St. Louis?
It's probably. Maybe 2 to 3 hours.
I think Illinois must have a huge. That's a feature of Illinois because there's a water tower, the ketchup bottle water tower across. Yeah. I mean that's somewhere near there. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Oh man, well, that's great. That's a great part of the. We'll move on from the road trip lore. That was good.
We're gonna keep the trip moving.
The trip moving. Yeah, here we go. Well, let's go back to the Xennial conversation. Kind of put a bow on that. So as I said in the first episode on this, that just a quick review. So Xennials is a term coined around 2014 by researchers, And it's really a distinct microgeneration kind of spanning between, and this is where things get arbitrary, and even like Gen X and millennials can be arbitrary to some degree. 1977 to 83. I think it's fair to probably move that to 86, judging by the harassing comments I was getting by anyone after 83. But no, I agree. I have a brother who's 85. My wife's 84. 100%. We're that same sort of experience. I think to me, it's like you had to have been analog enough to then where when digital comes on the scene, you're also old enough as well for digital to where you're, kind of at the fault line between those two worlds.
Well, and I think correct me if I'm
Yep.
wrong, but I think like confusing about when we're talking about like the generations.
Yep.
Is that generations are not defined by the year that they were born. They are defined by the age that they like came into like adulthood. Is that right? Like
well, and that's a good thing to raise. So like, I have learned a lot about this through just kind of the aftermath of, okay, what did we unleash here? But so well, and that's a good thing. I want to make a point on this. Just to note. So, because there'll be a lot of people pushing back on, well, no, that doesn't exist. That's a myth. And the idea actually on all generational boundaries is they're social constructs. These are made by sociologists, marketers. There is no single governing body or agency that officially standardizes or legally defines any generational boundaries except for one. What is your guess? World War II post.
Yeah.
Okay, so the boomers.
Boomers. Yeah.
That's the only one. And so when people kind of come in, the angry gatekeepers around generations, especially you Gen Xers out there, there's no, I mean, they're all social constructs. So like even, and so I think what even like Pew Research and the ones that are more at least standardized, but still there's no this official governing body. Like even they, I think, are starting to adapt and go. So, okay, to answer your question, it really is defined by the years. So it's like often like Gen X is described as like 65 to 80, born from 65, born to 80. Okay. But what's happening, I think, is people are realizing as they study history that a 20 to 25 generational span is too big, especially to account for like massive technological shifts and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, right, would that be, I mean, that 25 years maybe worked a long time ago, but now that things are
right,
like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why the idea of a microgeneration is sort of a newer construct, because to your point, as things have adapted so much quicker in a smaller time, it's got because think about like how different someone, like for us, I was born in 79. Were you what, 80?
Same year.
Okay. 70. Oh, okay.
I'm older.
Real August? What are you?
January.
Wow. You could be my mentor then, because that's amazing. I thought I was older. Okay.
Yeah.
But let me say this example, because I thought this was really fascinating to me. I was kind of pushing back on some of those, you can't keep up with the comments, but you're trying to occasionally jumping in. But so this is, and then we'll kind of get this thing moving on. But basically, this example, so someone born in 1980, for example, or 79, had a big analog childhood that was formative up to, and then adapted as a teenager or preteen into the digital real time. And that's a really hugely, highly unique fault line that, and this is the thing that's fascinating, that if you were a 1970 Gen Xer or a 1990 millennial, you have no experience of that thing. So in that formative time. So, because there's a lot of people that are like, well, what are you talking about? You describe having an analog childhood and a digital adult. That was me in 1970. That's kind of missing the point. It's not, certainly you were analog Gen Xer, of course, like, and before all of that, it's that in that span where you want to say a 6 to 8 year window where you were, the transition hit as you were developing as a child, because that's when our brains are really developing and that's where adapting, right?
Right. Yep. Well, and that's what I was asking earlier, because it's not like all of us who are alive right now, who are older than you know, 30
Yep.
had the experience of analog childhood,
Right.
and then having to at some point in their life transition to digital.
Right.
But it's the generation is defined by those years when you're the formative years, right? Those teenage
Right.
years, early 20s, which is why like millennials, it's kind of a confusing term because they were not born in the new millennium. They came into their formative years were in the new millennium, which is why we call them millennials. So yeah.
Yeah. And so, but that's just a very different experience. There's just so many. Oh my gosh. It is fascinating to think about. And I think it's just, I think we don't realize, yeah, I didn't know either that, this sort of non-official governing body over that. It's almost like more, this would say Gen X, millennial, these are brand names that have had a long-standing brand appeal, but then a new name like a micro generation like Xennials becomes sort of a new brand that just has less noble knowledge about it, but that doesn't make it less of a brand, right? So it's more of that than it is well, this exact designation from a sociologist that this is what. So
so like at the end of the day, these terms really mean nothing. It's just a way to like quickly catalog different generations and maybe understanding the experiences that generation, not the individual,
exactly.
but that generation kind of gone through. And so I mean there's people who are like, hey, I had an and continue to have an analog adulthood,
right?
And then like that, so that's why I don't fit that. But
no, exactly. And the thing too is this isn't meant. I think there's also this sentiment too that's like, okay, you're either like, there's a lot of people doing this and it's for fun too, like, oh, we're the most special, or because this did make us so highly unique. But a lot of it isn't about, like, some people have said things. The comments are like the Wild West. I mean, there was someone saying things like, you guys are really just this is just a classic millennial move, like making everything has to be about you. So now you've made up this thing because you don't want to be a millennial, but so now you're going to be a Xennial, these types of things. And I think what I've seen in like even like the response on the post is like it's been this instant community for people, especially in that micro era, that are just like, it isn't like, it's not about being superior. It's like, or embarrassed of a millennial. It's like nothing else describes quite our experience like this. And I think what gives it more like kind of value and credibility too is a lot of people that say like, hey, I had older siblings who were like either in their, from the mid 70s born. I came here and I was so different than that. Or even my friends who were now more in the millennial era, like I just don't fit. And so, okay, now you've kind of coined this thing that really, this is my home. So, yeah. And I think that the other thing we didn't talk about, and I'm curious of throwing this your way, as someone who's, therapist and counseling, one of the things that I think also happened is that, so in that era of kind of, and this would be true of Gen Xers too, but where we were in that analog era and then into teenage years where, and this is before social media. So for a lot of us, we were in college in the late 90s and stuff, didn't have a lot of us didn't have cell phones yet. So we were doing as children and even teenagers, upper high schoolers, even things where we were making stupid mistakes. Maybe you get rejected at a dance, maybe something super embarrassing happens, but we were allowed to fail and like fall on our face. And that's not captured for the world to keep seeing.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. That being another kind of marker around Xennials, but you could also say for Gen Xers as well, this, that experience of pre-social media as even you're into like almost getting into college. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So you had said, like, as you mentioned, you've been interested in my opinion because being a therapist, and particularly I work a therapist working with teenagers. And I think like it is fascinating to me how younger people use social media versus how I feel like people of our generation use social media and people before, you know, like it is, but it is fascinating. And you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I think it's fascinating to me how everybody has felt a need to document everything. I don't even think, not beginning to talk about it out loud. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think it's a young person thing. I think it's an everybody.
A human thing.
Now that we have these devices in our pocket that are allowing us to document everything.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to document everything. You know, I'm sure you've had an experience being at a concert and somebody spent the entire concert like this with their, you know, their phone on, recording every bit of it. And it's, you know, part of me is like, you know, I don't know that your phone's set up to record sound. Is it going to even like sound good when you play it back? You know, like, so, you know, also you're completely missing the concert.
Okay. That's a great observation.
And I feel the same way when I see people at events with their families stopping to take a picture or record everything that's happening, is that I feel like, yes, you documented it, but you didn't experience it.
Right.
And so I feel like,
wow,
there's a duality there, because one is, well, I'll have to rely on my memory to remember this thing happened. Which I don't know is necessarily always a bad thing. I mean, I'm not putting down like
it's
kids or record something. Everything is worth doing that for, and some things I think are worth just being present and in the moment for. Instead of document.
So let me throw this your way, because you're taking us on a fascinating side thing that I'm really excited about. Okay, so I can picture, let's kind of go back into the era of the 90s, because that's what we're talking about, and the giant camcorders that dads everywhere were filming, right? There was a sense in which that, I think, knowing my own dad, like, we never watched that stuff again. Not to say some people weren't, okay, it's family VHS, we're watching the recording tonight of the week. But I think that even like with some of that technology, like, and I don't know, I guess you could go back as far as like cameras and film and stuff like that. But you also didn't just have it like as this thing that's always on your side. But maybe there's something that we've always needed to document as humans that's only accelerated and gotten way worse. Because I like what you said about like, the irony is it's taking you actually out of the moment that self to be behind this thing setting up a shot. So what do you think of that? Like, is it, we have to document something?
I think so. Like, I think that like documentation is important. And I have a friend, I'll shout him out, Dan, who is like so good at archiving his life.
Okay.
And there are times where I'm like really jealous of it, because I'm not the thing about my camera most of the time, you know, and then we'll leave something, and Kristen, my wife, is kind of the same, and we'll leave something and be like, oh shoot, we forgot to take a picture. But my friend Dan is just like, he's really, really good at that. Like he does. And but I also like think that I watch him, and I think he's also good at like realizing that this takes him out of the moment.
Oh, sure.
Kind of like constant. It's that he's going like, okay, I know I want to document everybody who was here. Let me get a quick picture and then come back in. So like,
sure.
But it's, I mean, that guy, I mean, like he's just got his whole life is documented in ways that are very interesting. So I think that there is something, I think we all really want to hold on to the joy of moments. I think we all really want to keep hold of those feelings because it feels so good.
Sure.
And we do get to, and like the really amazing wonderful thing about feelings is that we can return to them. So if you pull up a picture of something, you get to re-experience that moment, and you do get to re-experience the feelings of that moment. So I think documentation, once we had the ability to do that through cave paintings or through, or, you know, drawing all the way up to now, I think like I became a very fascinating idea to be able to document and record so that we could return to those things, not and pass information along, and right. So like, so yeah, I think there's something to that. I just think that it should be a very like conscientious decision of
Right.
where the documentation happens.
Yep.
Because I think the other side of it is relying on our brain can do the same thing, because the way memory works is that when we remember something, we aren't remembering the thing, we're remembering the last time we remembered the thing.
Yeah.
And so through doing that, we add little embellishments to the story that actually kind of like enhance the story and make it, something different.
Yes.
And I think that's a bad thing. It's the reason that like the fisherman's caught a fish this big, and
Right.
and great. Like that guy feels proud about this, great white shark that he caught, and it was really just a largemouth bass. So like,
Right.
I think there's something to embellishing stories that also is important, that documentation just doesn't necessarily give us. Right.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. Well, and one last thing I want to say on that, and then if you had any other thoughts, but it was really interesting. It went back on this trip to where I grew up in North Dakota, and there's a lot of family time sitting around with scrapbooks. Again, back to talking about tangible images and pictures and things you hold, right? And I thought there was an interesting comment, and you just triggered this now in my mind, of someone said, we had so much less picture. Like, so you might have a scrapbook album that maybe encompassed, 2 years in this album or whatever it was. Well, now you have our cell phones, our smartphones are just, for some people, just thousands of pictures. But because it's so, but the person said, but we never look at them. There was something. And so it's like, it's lost anyway. Right?
Oh,
in a way. So here you have this scrapbook that's actually sitting in a very prominent, at least historically, position where you would like pick that up and, let's flip through these 80 pictures that were amazing and we can look at, versus like thousands in this thing may never hardly look at again.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting too, because I think like everybody who has kind of had the similar upbringing of like having to print photos out and throw the bad ones away and put the other ones in a box or a book. There becomes like those iconic pictures of your like family pictures. Right. Ones where like, oh, that picture of dad doing this, or that picture when you were 4, and right, like they become iconic pictures that you don't get when it's just a photo reel of thousands of pictures, because now there's not one that's like standing out.
Right.
It's scrolling through and all these different things.
Yep.
The comparison I'll give, which I think is interesting, been a lifelong comic book fan, and so there are iconic comic book covers. Like if you're a comic book collector, there are covers that you can just tell people, X-Men number 181, and they'll be like, oh, that cover, like. But now there's the speculator market is such that they have alternative covers. So there's like the cover, but then there are hundreds sometimes of other alternative covers you can get for that thing. And what is happening is there's no longer like iconic covers.
Okay.
Like I'm years from now, if anybody's going to recall any of those covers, because it's not the one.
Right.
Cover.
That is fascinating. Okay, so did you want to add anything or go anywhere else on that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just read 2 quick segue comments again from the reel just for fun. And then I do have one more question to pose to you that I think I would love to hear your answer on. I think you can answer it in real time. Let me surprise you. Okay. Okay, so back to our Xennial conversation a little bit here. I want to, as we close this part of it down, this is more of the big overview of it, and then we'll move into the 90s and talk a little bit about how that formed us. But so maybe the on the viral reel, the winning comment is probably someone said, we were raised on hose water and neglect. And we've probably all heard that, but there was a lot of, I had thousands of responses on that one. But this one really captured what I feel like really gets to the heart of this span of our formative time. So see what you think of this one. This is by Prue the Great. Sorry, I'm butchering that on Instagram. He said, we're the best generation because we had to figure out how stuff worked, trial and error before the internet. If it weren't for us, all VCRs would have flashed 12 o'clock all the time. So our parents had us set everything up. And now our kids ask us whenever setting something up gets hard. So for this small window, our generation, we are the masters of remembering the old ways, adapting to the new ways, and having the patience to figure out what we don't know. Other generations pale in comparison. And that, I really think that ethos around, it sort of at this formative time, this drastic change happens technologically. You got to figure it out. Like, that didn't mean that an adult who was a Gen Xer or an older person, weren't still but there was this, I think this maybe because we were young, right? Is that there's a resilience to it?
There is, but I will say this, that I think that I agree that kind of encompasses what the microgeneration Xennial kind of like say. Mm-hmm. But I will say I'm in a position in my life where technology has definitely like gone over my head.
Yeah.
Technology. It's going so fast.
Yeah.
It's moving so. A lot of it I have little interest in participating. But there are things where, particularly like professionally, like have to learn to do get things done, that I will ask younger generations to do for me. I'm now in that position. I'm now in the space of saying, how do I make my VCR stop flashing 12? And only because when I was young, I had hours upon hours to sit down and figure something out. I don't now.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time. I have the patience. 100% have the patience. I don't have the time. So like it's so much easier to go back to a kid who has all the time in the world to sit and figure it out and probably has really figured out all the shortcuts to show all the shortcuts.
Yeah.
So I think I would say that because technology is now expanding exponentially, that the young kids now, kids probably ages 10 to 25 now, are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think that's fair for sure. I think at some point, to your point, the rate, the speed, even the adaptability and resilience, and just age, just like maybe if this was a decade ago, I'm much more right in the weeds of this too, figuring out that ship has sailed, and I think everything too can be a caricature. We can overly caricature that this span of time was, so adaptable and unique that it, set itself differently. And, there's some stuff that's not fully true there either, or fair to others that preceded or behind that. But, just thought that, I think the big thing was just, as we talked about in the first episode, is just, and I think this is where maybe people really feel that bonding in that era of just like, you get me. We came from a time where we really, we didn't have all this cynicism that sort of, again, stereotypically Gen Xers. We also didn't have this unbridled optimism, sort of that follows us up, or, sort of this, kind of trophy kid mentality they talk about. Again, not fair to all millennials at all. It's a big bucket too. So, but just that, that kind of middle ground, occupying adaptability, being fairly optimistic and realistic. I don't know, that there is something there. And I found myself even feeling a little sad, like almost like, I wish we could all gather and just like give each other a hug. And, it's like,
Xennials are almost like the middle child.
Yeah. There you go. Yep.
Of generations, like anytime we're like talk about our experience, every generation around us, like, you don't have it that bad. Like,
right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, just trying to talk about my experience. I'm discount yours. Mine greater or harder. I think that's very much kind of maybe the feeling on that.
Yeah, you nailed it. The middle yes, exactly. That's well said. So here back to the therapist hat, and then we're going to move into the 90s. So I love the pinging around. We're all over the place, but that's how you and I are. So, okay. And this kind of is evolved. This has developed in, as I've kind of checked out comments for fun and kind of kept an eye on some of that stuff. A really common one coming around, I think it's a really fascinating take, is a lot of people are saying, yes, we can glorify this. We are glorifying this, that era of nostalgia, freedom, especially freedom, so much freedom. It was like, and we're all glorifying that time. If we could only go back, we could, but then people are pointing out, but we are the parents of so many now. I mean, the anxious, our kids, we're not giving them that same. So on the one hand, what we're doing as Xennials is we're saying, if only we could go back, and almost like cheering on the freedom. They didn't know where we were until the streetlight come on. Man, they were the best parents. Really? And then now we're the parents not doing that at all. So people are going, what happened?
That is a really good point.
I will tell you as you think of this, because I just threw it, unless you have some.
Yeah.
Okay. One is, I think, we also knew, even in the, someone said jokingly, even though this isn't funny, but like that, I mean, they could have been trafficked 100 times, right? Because of the lack of, sort of what we call supervision there. Others have said, I narrowly missed dying by, some crazy thing. I jumped off a train or whatever. So I think there's this sense of, on the one hand, glorifying, the freedom and the like adventures and craziness, but then knowing now as a parent, as a kid, how close you were either to death, getting kidnapped, that then now and as a kid, you also weren't aware of that. Well, now as a parent, you're like, when I said I was over at Tommy's, but people are passed out drunk in a cornfield. Yeah, I know what, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think, I used to ride my bike along a very busy road that at some point had a bridge over a highway, like it was like not, it was like no side, like it's just, yeah. So definitely like, I think about that and I'm like, no, I wouldn't want my kids doing that, so right. I don't know. It's interesting that like, and I guess some of my thoughts are like, are we, maybe some people are, but like, are we glorifying that time, or are we just saying like, that's how it was? Is there a part of us that's like talking about that, going like, I used to do this and holy cow, I used to do that? Like, and I think the other thing too, I'm going to say is, I feel like a lot of the parents within my circle who I know are going on those adventures with their kids, whereas I don't think a lot of the events we were having were with our parents. Not to say that like, my parents didn't do things with us, and we had great summer vacations every summer. We would go to family picnics in the parks and things like that. But well, maybe that's a good example. If we went to family picnic in the park, we would go, and then it was like all the adults were like over here, and then the kids would be running off.
Right.
And all those things like, oh, we did that,
right.
And then, it was so, I don't know. I just, again, I really like to go on adventures with my kids.
Yep.
And not that I'm trying to hold them back. I mean, they're certainly welcome to go and have their own adventures, but yeah, maybe just when they were young, we just had so many adventures with them, they didn't see a need to separate. I don't know. It's a fascinating thought.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, one thing that came to my mind, and then we can kind of move into the 90s segment here, but is that, and I know we're going to talk a little about this later. And so I'm kind of thinking if I should save this but it does fit right now in a way. But the book, The Anxious Generation, which I don't know if you've read it, about it, but yeah, it's a landmark book, but we're a social psychologist. And it's really the study of how childhood changed, especially in the span of 2010 to 2015, the advent of the smartphone, Apple's smartphone, I think it was the iPhone 07. So then those kids there's a lot to unpack there, but to this one point I think, is really fascinating, where he said in this that parents overprotected real world independence. So this is looking back now to say that, like, you could even say now, but especially let's even go back a decade. Parents were overprotecting the real world hyper independence of freedom, doing stunts on a playground, kind of the crazy stuff I think we were doing, right? And almost like, whoa, helicoptering on that. And in so much of that, and this is the good side of the Xennial experience of the freedom, and a little bit more of just that, like, hey, you might get hurt, but that's okay. We do get hurt. And we learn some resilience, we're going to make mistakes, how to problem solve, how to, kind of working things out socially. Whereas, well, at the same time, helicoptering over physical things, there was this then removal away from the devices. And some of that's from probably not knowing it, but where then, now cyberbullying's happening, you're getting addicted, all the comparison girls have, boys are, there's, porn becomes a massive problem. And almost like that's removed though, as a parent, like we're almost like less protecting of that stuff. So it's interesting, the different ways in which parenting, the heavy handedness of what it's after.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thought or idea. I think, where we chose to protect,
and why, that's the question too, right? So fascinating to explore that. So okay, so let's move this thing a little bit into the 90s. We're gonna hang out there for a bit.
Can I ask
yes
you
please?
That because I feel like you brought that word nostalgia.
Yep.
Do you feel like you're a very nostalgic individual?
Yes. Very nostalgic.
Very, yeah. Like, do you, so, like, you feel like you do time belong for the 90s or other times?
Well, okay, so that's a good, maybe to clarify that's okay.
I'm asking is I do not consider myself to be a very nostalgic person.
Okay.
I look at the past fondly,
yep.
and there are past I'm like, that was great, that was awesome, but I don't feel myself like, there's no bittersweetness to that, there's no sadness to that, there's no longing to return to those times.
Sure.
Like, there's very much like that was great back there and this is great right here. So I'm just curious, like, you yourself are very nostalgic at all.
Yeah. So I feel like saying it that way, I would say for me, it's really nuanced nostalgia. I'm just making up a term here. So like, I'm really nostalgic about like things that represent my past in terms of like, so like grew up on the farm, anything around that. I mean, I actually had our sunflower planter, which is one of the last remaining artifacts of our farm, which is a big 12-foot, or 16-foot sunflower planter, brought all the way from North Dakota to Tennessee to put on our land. I just needed that thing. Well, I mean, part of the nostalgia around that is the memories around farming, growing up with my dad doing that. I think I'm fondly remembering some of the 90s as we talk about some of this stuff, the things that brought me back there. But is it because it's not necessarily though, because at the time that was because there's a lot of people, like even in these comments on the reel, like if I could just go back, like you'll see that about people. So there'll be a YouTube song, right? Like Green Day, whatever. And you're like, oh, that time, if that could just be frozen in time. But people are saying that because that time for them was the epitome of their life. That was the golden age of their life. And now I think that's what makes that nostalgia. Now it's like, oh, the humdrum of being a parent, and it's hard and life is hard. So I guess maybe as you make me reflect on that, that's a great, because I guess in some ways I'm not as much, but on other things I am. And so
I think there are, it's interesting. Maybe what was the term you made up?
Nuanced nostalgia. I mean, I guess maybe there's a sort of a sub.
Yeah, I think there are things like, there are things that, I liked the way things were done back then, but I'm not, yeah, I guess when I look back at my life, I don't ever look at like my teenage years and go, oh, that was the golden time.
Right.
Like that I think that there were good things back there. But I don't think I don't think that my childhood and my teenage years were the golden years of my life. I
Yeah.
think those hit much later. And in fact, there is no for me like there is sometimes monotony and routine and things like parenting
Mm-hmm.
and keeping things like that. But I don't. Yeah, I
Well,
don't grudge those. Like I kind of enjoy being a parent. So yeah.
well, that's a good thing. And I think you and I have on a previous podcast one time really talked about, we both felt a lot of that, some in high school, just, it wasn't our favorite time. Wasn't mine either. I think for me, it was really college and especially into and I'm with you on parenting. It's been amazingly awesome and hard, but also amazing. So I
Mm-hmm.
really, that for me is the golden era. I wonder if some of it I've noticed for myself as we approach middle age and 40s, late 40s, mid 40s, there is, I guess for me, it's a looking back at where I came from. And maybe some of that, it's just the memories of landing of like, yeah, like just the youthfulness more so
Mm-hmm.
than it is well, that was just the best time. But I think it was
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of just brings us back to being young again and kind of what the freedom meant, what it meant to like have the whole world in front of you. You don't know what you're doing next, kind of some of that maybe. And then some of this other stuff is in the backdrop.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a great
Because
question. And you make me
I
kind of want to think more about my thought around that. So, but yeah, so as we kind of talk a little bit more of kind of moving this through the 90s a little bit is, you know, there was, as far as like, so the internet, I guess, with Windows, that's where it really became. I mean, I think truly the internet was like something like 91, but as far as the usability of that for most people, you wouldn't have known it.
home internet, right?
Correct.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're working for NASA or, IBM or something. So, so if I do picture that around like 95 or breaking through and stuff like that, I think that's when the first,
yeah.
what I was going to ask you as we look at that being a massive thing to look back on, like here we were analog and then the internet. It's weird for me looking back, but I don't remember thinking like as the internet came online, literally like, whoa, we're in a whole new world, quite at least early on.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, like all of a sudden it's like the Wizard of Oz when it's like black and white and now it's like color. Like, I don't remember. Do you?
No, because I mean, like early internet was nothing like modern day, like nothing like modern internet. So it just, it felt like a fun thing to pop onto every once in a while. And I'm trying to remember like pre-Google, like how did you find things on the internet? Like
right. I mean,
engines. I'm trying to remember.
Like, what were some of the first search engines? Like, is AOL? I mean, I guess that would have been AOL.com, and you were having like a wonky. Yeah, it's hard to, because as I was thinking, because I think when you zoom out and then you look back at that time and go, well, what would that then have been like? You keep talking about this fault line and, it was just like, whoa, this seismic shift. And you were like, suddenly, but I think it was pretty wonky, but also I don't think we knew what it really meant yet or where it was at the time. Like, it's like, oh, it's slowly another new thing that you said we can get away from. Like,
right. It was just,
you go to a computer lab or you're in the library, you hop on this thing and we're kind of learning this thing. But I think it was that it slowly sort of evolved more and more. Then there becomes chat rooms. Then there becomes more of a social component. Then there becomes, more of a, like, I don't know when eBay came on, but that was earlier than we think. It really was.
Yeah.
So there was like suddenly like much more features of the internet, I guess. What, in terms of other like types of technology kind of in the 90s that sort of started to come out there and, we privy to now and stuff as we're teenagers and things, like what kind of comes to mind for you?
The first one is, I remember when friends started getting pagers.
Yeah,
which was not like a new technology. I mean, that's a very old tech. I mean, that probably goes back to the 70s, I'm
sure.
sure. But I remember then that became like, I don't know, like it was, teenagers were getting pagers.
Yeah, there's people, a lot of people, yeah, pager before my first phone, and because it predated cell phones.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember I had a few friends with that, and I remember there was one friend where he would he would page other people to call him, and he would always put 911 before it because then they thought it was an
Oh my
emergency,
gosh.
but it was not. It was just he just always would put 911, and then people would call him really quick. He's like, no, I just wanted you to call me fast. So like, but yeah, I do recall like friends having pagers was a thing. Um, DVDs, I remember that coming
DVDs.
in. What year would that have been? That was
Gosh,
maybe
good question.
90,
Late?
96, maybe 97. I feel like it got
Probably.
really
Yeah, I think
thing.
you're in that ballpark there. I mean, I think of, as we then got CDs, how game changing that was. And then this, one of my favorite bridge technologies of the old to the new was the cassette adapter into the, your car stereo with the 30-second skip Discman that could handle all the, for those of us too poor to get the, Pioneer sound system or
Yeah.
whatever in the
Yep.
Pontiac Grand Dam.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it's wild how like there's a whole market of technology that is just adapting old technology to be
Yeah,
able to use new technology.
so true. Yeah. But yeah, I totally remember like, in North Dakota, the gravel, dusty roads and having to kind of have that, CD player balanced, with and just sort of skipping like crazy. And you're like, well, cassettes never did that. It's like, is this better? But yeah. And then we start to get into like, at the end of the 90s and stuff like that. I mean, now we're approaching, I mean, Y2K was obviously a massive like
Mhm.
technological like pandemonium around what would all happen there. But um one of the things when we talk about CDs though, BMG music. For
Yeah.
kids that don't know, like you get sign up and you get like 12 CDs for the price of one, you pay shipping, and you're like, this is just the lottery. I keep winning the lottery, and then you realize, but if you don't select to not get the CD of the month, you like pay for that every time, and then we're like 17 and our credit is ruined.
Yeah. I never did
Oh,
that
you
because I
didn't?
always no, because it was always like, yeah, get 10 CDs for $1. And I was always like, how? Like it always seemed suspicious to
You were a smart one.
like it never made sense to me. So
Well,
like,
that's how they got us, and
yeah.
many of us were gotten. I one of my friends like, yeah, my credit hasn't been the same since 1997. But yeah, and then I mean, we get into like you said, I guess as we kind of lapse into the end of the 90s with technology, it's different types of media that can play things, and Blu-rays start coming out, different versions of things, and
Yeah, I think that started in like the 2000s.
2000s. Okay, I'm a little early
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
Yeah, because I was thinking like things like the iPod
yeah.
or even like when Napster, like I think that's all 2000s when file sharing starts
Okay, so
really.
yeah, I think that's a good point. So it's right at the breaking into the 2000s, because I know I was a sophomore in college in 2000, I believe, in the heart of Napster. So
Uh,
that must have at least gotten widespread in 2000 or so.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but that was, I want to say that as far as just the technology part on this, that was maybe to me one of the biggest breakthrough, moments, because it was like we went from going to the mall to purchase a CD or at Best Buy, right? And to now for $15 or whatever they were, 12, I don't know, whatever. To now, like you at the tip of your fingers, like what do I want? What band, what music, boom, burn the CD.
yeah, yeah. Although I will say that like this is one spot where I have that like selective nostalgia where it's
Okay.
like I not a big fan of the streaming services
Yeah.
for because I'm too cheap to pay for them. And when I talk to people who do pay for it, when I say like this is what I wish it would do, they're like, oh, even if you paid for it, it wouldn't do that. You know, like I miss, honestly, what I miss is my iPod,
Yeah.
where I had over 10,000 songs on it,
Yeah.
and I could make as many like little playlists as I want, or I could just go to all the songs and hit random, and it would play me. You know, I could move through different type of genres
Sure.
and songs. Because even on like if you use Spotify, for example, you can't go, hey, just play me like a random playlist of all the things that I like.
Yeah.
It just wants to play you one genre, one particular era, one, you know, it's like, no, I want like a mix, you know, I want to get this and this played right after each other, even though there's no connection between those two things. Like I you know, miss the scramble music that I could used to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, that's an example where, you know, it's like some things are they really improvements? You know, it's like you kind of look back on, and it is interesting too as technology evolved and developed. Whether you know, whether it was you know, what did you just say? I'm blanking out. We're Xennials. We're losing our minds here. The not an iPhone, iPod, which went extinct in what 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
You know how those were giant, like dinosaurs, you know, the beginning ones, heavy, big, and they keep getting smaller and smaller down to, you know, so like, that was the other thing with technology too, is how you saw, well, there's a PC or whatever, just like the size of a small oven, just continuing to get smaller and smaller and smaller to where it literally disappears. And now you're streaming on sort of this. So
yeah, everything is pocket sized.
Everything is. Yeah.
So I mean, which that's great, that's good, but maybe like I think the other side of it is, and you know what, maybe this is just again us being old people, you know, is just looking back and being like, well, I figured out that system. Now the system's different, and I don't know that I want to refigure out that system. Because you know, if I'm talking to a young person about this, they'll say, oh, I do all of that, but I do it this way, you know. So they are still discovering new music. They are still creating the playlist. They're just doing it differently than we did it.
Yep.
And I think much more just I liked that way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the way we understood it. That's the way you conceptualized how we put it together. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Okay, so we're going to do rapid fire here, and we're going to get to the final segment of what we're going to talk a little bit about with what technology's done to us. So before we get to that, if you could pick 3 songs from the 90s that instantly, when you hear them, transport you back in time to that time? And I know there could be a ton more than 3, but like, give me your 3.
I'm going to say it's okay. The 3 things that first came to my mind are not particular songs. They are albums that I feel like if I am driving my car and this music is playing, any song off that album is playing, and I've got the windows down, it's a nice day out, I've got the windows down, I've got the music up, it's right away I'm going to feel again like I'm 16. They would be Green Day's Dookie, that album. The Offspring's Ixnay on the Hombre, and Real Big Fish's Turn the Radio Off. I think those 3 albums probably got heavy rotation for me.
Yeah.
Along with several other ones, but those are the first 3 that come into my mind.
Man,
as far as like would probably like mentally transport me back to.
That's yeah, I see that for sure.
Yeah. How about you?
So it's interesting because the 3 I'm going to go with aren't 3 that I remember, like, and I'm going to go with songs actually that were on repeat or but they do transport me back now. So there's something about them, because for me it was a lot of punk rock, MXPX, stuff like that. At the time. But okay, when I hear Ironic by Alanis Morissette, that just has a 9, it's like, it just feels like, you know, I would say by Crash Test Dummies. Yes, which I saw in concert about 3 years ago at a show, which was amazing. And then I'm going to go with You Get What You Give by the New Radicals.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the
Mm-hmm.
music in you.
Yeah.
And partly because the music video of that was set in a mall and he's wearing a bucket hat. But like that, like, could you get any more 90s than that? But it's like just the energy, the sound of it. It just, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's interesting how it transports you.
Right. Yeah. 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 Did he have a puka shell necklace on in that video too? Remember that everyone was wearing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay, the last thing in the 90s segment I'm going to throw out there is just, we're going to throw this out there. Don't even have to react, or you can, but then I want to hear yours. I'm just going to name off a few. These are things from the 90s, and then we'll put this to bed. When I think of just things, so Saved by the Bell, Blockbuster, Super Soakers, Surge, Windbreakers. Someone said no one fought the wind harder than our generation. Laser tag. Where's laser tag anymore? Can you find laser tag?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can. I don't think it's like as easy to find, but I played laser tag last summer in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So yes, it's out there. It's out there.
I want to play laser tag with you next time I'm in St. Louis. Let's find some.
Yeah.
And I'll end it with all that in a bag of chips. Okay. So there's my 90s memory dump. Anything to add? What you got? Any? What are your?
TGI Fridays.
Yes.
Not the restaurant, but the
right. I'm with you. Yep. The original
television shows.
Yep.
Yep. With like Full House and Family Matters.
Yep.
Perfect Strangers. The Urkel Day, while we're on it.
Need to. Yep.
Trying to think of some other like 90s. Just like when I think of the 90s, those are big ones, man.
Neon, everything neon, crazy, plaid. And that's back. I mean, we've seen that. It's been around now for how many years? We've all these kids with the 90s stuff on.
Yeah. What a time.
What a time. Well, that was a journey that, we close that down of our little bit of our Xennial, part 2 of our Xennial experience. So that was, thank you for going down that with me, Jeff. And even though nostalgic is not what you do, and maybe I don't either, and maybe you just pointed. I mean, you're a good therapist. Maybe you pointed that out to me, that maybe I'm really not, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for me, it's just like looking back with fondness, but I'm not like wishing that things feel that way.
To return to that. Yep. And that's a good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like there are just so many. It's funny you say every time you were all the things you mentioned, like things came into my mind about like used to Saved by the Bell, and I'm like, oh, I remember there were two. I get home from school and watch Saved by the Bell, but there were 2 channels that both played Saved by the Bell after school, and they were like sometimes they'd be playing the same episode, but they were like 30 seconds off, so you could watch a little bit of this, flip over to the other station, and watch just exactly like it was. So yeah, but okay. Well, yeah. What a trip down memory
time, and what made us. Okay, so to end this, we want to like land on this kind of what we did talk about a little bit in that last episode. You flagged it. Let's come back to this. Really wanted you to kind of take the lead. I think it's really appropriate too, as we look at just how technology's evolved, how it formed us, but now where it's led us and what's happened now. So yeah, let's talk some about that.
Yeah, I think you're too talking about like the attention that current technology kind of like comes to us. So I think like we start talking about dopamine, right? So there are chemicals within our brain functioning that are responsible for certain things, and dopamine is like our reward chemical. It's the thing that kind of motivates us or lets us know that we enjoy something, or that something was rewarding to have done. So we can get dopamine from eating our favorite food, but we can also get dopamine from finishing the yard work and seeing that the yard is done, right. So we get this little like reward for having done it. And current technology, specifically things like smartphones and social media, are like dopamine sources. and they just reward us. I mean, that's how they're built. They're built to like reward our dopamine centers so that we
Mm,
come back and back and back. And there's a lot of problems or dangers with that. And I
hmm,
think that this is probably well documented and talked about in a lot of places, but I don't know that a lot of people are taking it as seriously as I think,
hmm.
I would like it to be
Sure.
taken. So like the, I don't know. Do you have thoughts or questions yourself before I just ramble? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, well, so it's a great I think about, and maybe this is where you're going with it too, but just yeah, all of the ways in which, especially technology now, it's the, you know, content is getting shorter, attention spans are adapting to that, or because it, it's chicken or the egg on that. And then like you said, like the likes, there's a great documentary on sort of the evolving, or when social media broke out, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's either on Netflix or Prime. And there was a segment by, it was a creator on, I think on Facebook, not of Facebook, where the creator of the like button,
mhm.
and the initial, I think it was Facebook, his initial belief in that was like, oh, this amazing way to just sort of, you know, pop something up there. And this is just a great way to kind of cheer it on,
Mhm.
not knowing at all, like the destructive nature of like what just that one button did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it called like the social network? Or
Something like
I don't.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's what it's fascinating because also now these social media companies have understand. If we make these things algorithmic to your attention span, then we get that we get you back more and more and more. So now the algorithm is rewarding my dopamine, and then I come back for more of that, and then the struggle. There's so many struggles with that, but part of the problem is that the algorithm doesn't know why you're paying attention to something. It just knows that you are paying attention to it. So if are scrolling and you see a local news story about some tragedy that happened, and you care about your community, so you want to see what
Yep.
happened and feel for that family and pray for that family or whatever you like to do, the algorithm goes, you like tragic stories in your area, right?
Oh
So it
man. Yeah.
starts feeding you more of those, and then before long you're going on social media because you're rewarded to go on social media. So you go on social media and your algorithm is full of tragic stories, and now you're sitting at home going, it's it's horrible out there, terrible things are happening all the
All
time,
the
all the
time.
time, all the time. When the truth of the matter is, the horrible things are happening, but not all the time. It's
Right.
just that your algorithm is set to show you all kinds of horrible things. So, like, we have to be very, very careful and intentional on social media about what we are providing our attention to.
Mm.
I mean, the other thing is if I'm scrolling on social media and my wife says, "Oh, hey," and I turn to her to give her the attention, hear what she has to say, I've paused scrolling. The algorithm thinks I paused because I like that.
Right. Oh man. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now more and more and more of that. Sometimes it's great, and this is where, like, working with young people, we always tell them, like, be attentive to your algorithms, make sure that what you are interacting with is truly what you want to see more of, make sure that you are finding and following positive content.
Hmm.
So it's okay to go on and read a news story about something sad that happened. That's not a big deal, but
Sure.
make sure you are making sure to hit the like button, follow, read the comments of things that are positive, because that's what
Hmm.
it's going to show you more and more of.
Yeah.
uh, because the other struggle here, the other thing that's going on, is that our dopamine center does not have an unlimited supply of dopamine.
Hmm.
So if I am spending all of my dopamine on scrolling, when I put my phone down, I finally put my phone down, and I'm now interacting with the real world,
Yep.
I'm getting less reward in my brain for interacting with the real world. Things that may have given me joy and pleasure are not giving me joy and pleasure because my dopamine is spent. But you know what? Where I was feeling that feeling is when I was scrolling. So I'm going to go back to scrolling to try to get that feeling.
Mm.
But even there, and this is where we get like doom scrolling. People talk about doom scrolling
Yep.
all the time. I'm seeking the pleasure. I'm seeking the pleasure. I'm not getting it because I'm spent. I have no more to give. So we have to be intentional with time and attention that we are providing these things. These are great tools. social media can be a fantastic tool when used correctly, but unfortunately, the way that the system is built, it's providing us with a reward center that is rewarding us with dopamine, but it has no real life impact or reward.
Okay, so that you just taught me. I did not know. I mean, I knew that, the dopamine hit that we're after, that it feels in our brain. I kind of want to keep repeating this. I did not know that. I should have, but yeah, that the doping store is limited. Like it's not sort of this on. So what I love what you said about, I mean, that's just good for us as parents too, with our kids, and that reminder of like, make sure that you are liking and looking at a lot of positive stuff as well, uplifting things that aren't just going to trigger, because one of our kids, he just got such into this dark political space, and it was like, what news cycle are you on? Like, but it was that very thing of just sort of like, and I mean, it's great to be informed, but at the same time, like, where are you going for that, and how much are you getting of that stuff?
Yeah. Exactly. And it's simply because you're paying attention to it. You're interacting with it. When AI first started like posting to like Facebook, which is the only social media I have, like it would post to Facebook, and I would scroll and see crazy pictures. I mean, like they were making me like, I always thought they were so funny. And then I would be like, there's 200 comments on this? What are people saying? And I would go in to see what the comments were and what people were saying. And like, yeah, I was just so fascinated by these crazy pictures that I was seeing. So my feed was the wildest AI picture for the longest time.
Really?
And I knew why it was. It's because I was interacting with it, because it was making me laugh, right? Yeah. So, and how dumb it was. And then I started to realize, like, go in there and I'm like, it is an AI picture generated by AI, and then it is a bunch of AI bots commenting on it. And I'm like, it's this loop of like, so I just kind of like, I lost interest, and now my algorithm is different. It's a bunch of like That's So Rad podcast, and no, it's
Real Big Fish music videos.
Yeah, right. Like it is. It's a lot of ska content. It's a lot of comics content. It's a lot of mullet review. This guy who's like goes to all these trains. Right, really funny. That Jose Monkey, this guy who like people send him little videos and ask him to find them, and he uses all these ways to find exactly the location they're in, like stuff that's like fascinating, right? And I try to interact with that stuff. Sometimes I find myself clicking on something that I'm like, ooh, I didn't like. That brought me in because it was politicizing,
right?
I wanted to like it, and I now just know if I see something that is like potentially like upsetting to me, scroll past. Scroll past. Because that, I mean, like you're going to be equally engaged with things that upset you as things that please you. Like, I just have to scroll past the things that upset me, or if those are things that are, we all know everything's hyper politicized right now. I have to make sure that I am very conscientious about the sources I go to make sure that they are not sources that are trying to just pull in my hits, but they are trying to provide information.
That's great. Well, I wanted to add to that, and then you can feel free to respond to this, and we can close this down or wherever we're going to finish this up. But in the last episode, you did also talk, which I thought was really helpful, is, so as we've talked about dopamine and being careful around, and how social media the algorithm just is kind of a hot button with this and what it can do. But you also mentioned the other things like serotonin as a mood and well-being, how we find that. Can you say anything around, my wife sent me this yesterday and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And this is really timely for our conversation. Your brain needs dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. And then it describes all the ways it gets those. And you were kind of unpacking that last time of like, you can't get dopamine by sitting out and looking at the mountains. That's a whole nother experience that your brain also needs. So anything that hits you on that, or like that you?
Yeah, no, we at Atlas, it's we teach those chemicals, and then we teach how to get them because they are important. So, you can get endorphins just through exercise, just movement.
Sure.
Like just get up, and move. If your day is stagnant, that's not good for you. You need that. Kristen and I did a 20-mile hike. It's the Mammoth March.
Nice.
We've done it 2 years in a row. I don't think we're going to be doing it this year, but there was an experience I had this past year when I did it, where it was a really steep hill. And when I'm hiking and I hit steep hills, I just trudge. I just go, right? Because I'm like, I stop halfway, like wild fright. So I just go. And I'm pushing my way up. It's kind of crowded. I'm having to kind of go a little slower than I want because the people in front of me. And then I push to the top. I hit the top of that hill. You probably have felt this with mountain biking.
Yep.
I hit the top of the hill. I literally felt the endorphins rush through my body.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was probably one of the most incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Because on that hill, I was like, I don't know that I want this. I hit the top of the hill and I hit that. And I was like, let's do it. Like,
let's go.
I was like, oh, it just like felt so good. I literally felt the endorphins hit. So yeah, oxytocin is literally called the love drug. Like we nicknamed that. Go give somebody a hug, and you will get oxytocin. It's the drug it's the reason that when a child is born, they immediately get a child on the mother's chest. Oxytocin is produced in that moment. So awesome. It's a bonding chemical that we really need. So if you're feeling lonely or you're feeling disconnected from other people, go out and interact with others, and you'll get that oxytocin. And particularly like physical contact can really give that.
That's awesome.
How long of a hug do you think it requires in order to release oxytocin? We looked this up one time.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess, is it 45 seconds?
Oh man, no, it's not. But a 45-second hug sounds great. I think actually it's called cuddling, but it's still pretty long. It's 20 seconds.
Oh, really?
Like a pretty long time to like hug an individual. When it's your boss at work or that random stranger, but probably not your child or your partner.
Right, 20 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like wow. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so we need these things. I would encourage anybody who's listening to this interested to just go look them up, look up more. There are lists out there that will tell you it'll give you how do I know I'm low on this? It'll give you symptoms that'll tell you how to know you're low on it, and then what can I do to naturally that? Because what we find a lot of the times is that when we are low on those things, what we are doing to increase them is unhealthy for us.
Sure.
We are turning to things like, well, I'm feeling lonely, so let me scroll on the internet, but that is not providing us then with, truly releasing those chemicals or doing it in a way that provides long-term happiness. This is when addiction come in because we're seeking the relief that those chemicals provide us, and we're not getting them.
Well, that's a great point, and it kind of brings it full circle to the technology problem, because I think what you're saying too is if then we're turning back to technology, we're so immersed. I mean, we see this with young people where if it's so much of just, now we're restricted socially, we're not going outside, we're, beholden to this thing, that these other chemicals or these, like serotonin, we're not even able to tap into those other experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the trap as well. It seems like, is it now you're just restricting that one dimension, plus supplies run out. Like you say, it's not the best source to only get it that way, dopamine. And then now who am I giving a 20-second hug to when it's me and hours of Instagram?
Yeah. And I think we've oversold the connection that the internet gives us to other people.
Yep.
Again, it's a great tool. If I have a niche interest, I'm able to find connection online with other people who have that niche interest that may not be in my personal community. But if we are using that for our sole, socialization or whatever, it really is pushing us into a deep well of not being able to get those things in healthier ways.
Well, I just want to end this by saying the work that you're doing with Atlas and mentoring youth and, therapy and being sort of I guess sort of I mean, we kind of joke about it in the past, but like you're an ambassador to for the theme of this episode, the experiences that were part of our childhood that were healthy being removed from technology. But I really appreciate your heart, and you're a really fun guy to be around. We had so much fun together, and I know the kids really, you're such a awesome guy to be doing the work you're doing in St. Louis. So,
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know that we have anything else to say as far as we're spent with the Xennial conversation. So we gave it everything we had.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Well, yeah, I guess we'll have to brainstorm on part 3.
Part 3. Yeah. So then you'll actually be the 4th returning guy. Okay. Good hanging out today, Jeff.
You too. Thanks, man.
Hope you enjoyed the episode today. Check out the show notes for any links or resources shared in the episode. If you enjoy the podcast, it would be really appreciated if you'd subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with friends. May we all remember these words from writer Mary Oliver. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it.